what you gonna do, fiat dollar, or CryptoBullGod and his crypto maniacs and the entire cryptocurrency market run wild on you?
Welcome in. I am the CryptoBullGod, and this is the recorded on Thursday, airing on Thursday, May 20th, 2021, CryptoBullGod Podcast. You can find me on Twitter, TradingView, and YouTube at CryptoBullGod. Boy, the timing of my TA video this week was pretty on point there. So, for all of you who did not see, I recorded a pretty lengthy TA video on Tuesday evening. Okay, I recorded this Tuesday evening. I went through a lot of detailed technical analysis and thoughts, and then the market plummeted on the next day, on Wednesday. So, interestingly enough, if you go back to that TA video, maybe I'll leave a link for it in the description here. It's on my channel. But interestingly enough, if you look at the daily candle and you go back to the TA video that I shared, I definitely did not see us wicking as low as 30,000, which is how far we went. We went all the way down to 30,000 and came all the way back up, but we closed within that yellow box that I spoke with. And currently we are seeing some nice reliefs in the market today, staying within that yellow zone. So a couple things I wanted to hit on here. First off, while the level of volatility certainly took me by surprise, and I did not see us wicking that low, couple things that I saw a few other TA people speak to in the space. First off, I did see a couple charts on a head and shoulders pattern, which I personally did not catch. And I didn't validate the target, but the technical target was 30,000. So if that is correct, then we hit that target exactly. The other interesting thing, I have to add this to my list for 2022. For those who follow me on Twitter pretty closely, I've indicated that one of the things on my to-do list, from a TA perspective, again, I'm always looking to learn. I love learning. I want to be a better technical analyst. I want to get increasingly better over time as a technical analyst. Anything you're passionate about, that should be sort of your mindset, right? So one of the things I spoke to on Twitter was that I am excited to learn about Elliott wave analysis in 2022. Another thing I'm going to add, I think, to my list to learn about is our wick-off. Is it wick-off? Yeah, wick-off patterns, wick-off structure. Somebody else, a prominent person on Twitter, was speaking to the fact that basically that's the pattern that's been presented within Bitcoin. So I need to learn about it because, I can't, I'm always honest with you guys. I'm never going to speak about something that I'm not familiar with. So I'm not super familiar with that pattern. A Wyckoff distribution. Sorry. Anybody who's familiar with that pattern was probably like nails on a chalkboard when I mispronounced it. Wyckoff distribution. So anyway, apparently some of those technical patterns were present within the market. And here's what I would say in terms of where we're currently at. I tried to come out on Twitter and calm emotions. I can appreciate that, especially for a lot of you guys. If you're newer to the market, it was pretty scary, right? Pretty scary, the price action that we saw on Wednesday. Somebody like myself, even though things were, again, whenever I talk about candle body wicks, it's representatory of volatility. And I've always expressed that there's a ton of volatility in this immature market. Okay, I've always said that. And given all the volatility that was in the market yesterday, honestly, my own personal emotions, being 100% transparent, internally, I looked at the charts and I was like, oof, wow, well, things definitely went lower than I thought they were going to. How can I figure out how to get more fiat to buy. So that's my train of thought. But again, if you haven't been in this market for a long time, it really can be a scary thing. And I want to be sensitive to the fact that for a lot of you, it really was an emotional time for you. And I get it. I understand. And again, I've been educating myself. I've said this. My background is as an actuary. Okay, I have a very technical background. I'm very conservative by nature. Actuaries in general are very conservative by nature. We're very analytically minded. And I love self-studies. Wouldn't have been credentialed as a fellow if that wasn't the case. And so I've literally spent thousands of hours. That's not an exaggeration, studying this market, whether we're talking about fundamentals or technicals. And I've been doing this since late 2017. So I have a fuck ton of knowledge. But the other thing is I've had skin in the game. I mean, my first dollar of fiat was put into the market in 2018. So I was here for the entire 2018 bear market and 19 bear market. I was here for the March COVID panic. If you go back, if you want to search, I was tweeting about projects I was buying at crazy prices. Link at $2, $1.80. I don't know what Tezos was at XRP at like 10 cents. So I've been through a lot of this. And the other thing that I should make everyone aware of, and this should come across within the TA that I provide, is that I also feel that I'm a realist. I'm very level-headed. And if I saw something in the charts that was very concerning to me, that made me question whether or not we were going to enter a bear market, I would say so. And everything, and I've said this too, everything that I'm tweeting out there, everything that I'm sharing with everyone is genuinely how I feel and how I'm approaching the market. It's very important that you understand that. We're not in a bear market. Okay, we haven't entered a bear market. We are still in a bull cycle, a bull market. Bigger perspective, we're still in a massive bull market that has not topped, and I provided 6, well, really technical 7, reasons, okay, supporting pieces of evidence as to why I have concluded for myself personally that I feel very convicted, extremely convicted, that we do not have a top in this cycle. And we are going to see massively higher prices. Now, you have to understand, I recorded that video right before the dump. My outlook in terms of the market conditions and not topping has remained exactly the same. The only thing I've reconsidered is given the level that we went down, and depending upon how long it takes for us to find solid footing in the market and make higher highs, specifically in Bitcoin, definitely changes my outlook on the timing of a top. You have to understand, it's hard enough as a technical analyst, it's hard enough to communicate to people who are not technically proficient and are not technical analysts that everything you're communicating is a probability. Everything you're seeing, you're looking at price data. And this is why, as an actuary, I love being a technical analyst. For those of you who don't know what an actuary is, go Google it and really research it. It's a very interesting niche profession. Apparently, Plan B is an actuary. He has not confirmed that with me. I've tweeted to him. But apparently, he's an actuary, which makes me feel even more solid on the stock-to-flow model. Anyway, not only is it hard to convey your technical points to a non-technical audience and clearly communicate things in a way that expresses you're looking at probabilities and giving them the most probabilistic scenario. That's what you're doing. It's very hard to talk about timing. Okay, it's very hard for me to say, well, we're going to top 3 months from now. Okay, so that's even more challenging. But I think given the level of decline that we saw, and depending upon how long it takes us to recover in price, my current thought is, and I'm going to not officially put anything out there until we see kind of how this month pans out going into June, maybe into June, but I think more towards the latter part of the year, so like a September to November sort of thing. That's really sort of my gut feel at this point. But I think what we can't get lost in, and I've stressed this, and I've gotten messages, I've gotten DMs, and I've gotten responses in Twitter. It frustrates me a little. Like, I appreciate all you guys. Like, everybody who engages with me, I appreciate it very much. I make sure to put out tweets there, signs of appreciation that, I'm a very genuine person, and I really appreciate everybody who engages with me. But one of the things that sort of bothers me, because I feel like it'll impair your ability to succeed in this market, I get the sense from some people, and it's probably my best educated guess is the people who have not been in this market long, very concerned about the day-to-day, very concerned about, well, how's the price going to be today? What's going to be next week? What's it going to be 2 days from now? Let's take a step back and appreciate the bigger perspective picture, which is what I try to preach, at least in my content. I don't put things out there for hype. I don't put things out there to gain a following. I like to do things naturally to gain a natural following. I can't be fake. I can't do that. I have to be myself. And what I'd really stress to you is to see, for example, let's look at today's price action. Did I know that we would get a very strong bounce today? No, I didn't know that. Did I think most likely we would get a strong bounce today? Yeah, I put that out there because the price action was so horrible yesterday. It was so over-exaggerated. We were so oversold that more than likely, whether it's a dead cat bounce or whether it's part of a larger picture recovery perspective, we were going to see green today. That's just playing the laws of probabilities here, okay? But that's not the important thing. Now, I will say this: it would have been very unexpected if we saw more red today. But the more important thing is, and this is my frame of mind, I want to take you inside the mind of the crypto bull god. The more important thing to me is, beyond today, let's see how this week closes. I touched on a weekly view on my last TA video. Let's see how the week closes. Let's see how the month closes. And you know the other thing I'm going to be looking for? I'm going to zoom out and look at a 2-month chart. And then I want to see how June is. I want to see how the month of June is in total for that month. And then I want to zoom out and look at a 2-month chart. So January, February, March, April, May, and June. Okay, May and June are one candlestick. I want to zoom out and I want to look at those views. That's my approach. And I said this on Twitter today. I am not here to help you day trade. That's not what I'm here for. Sometimes I do very small, very, 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 very small swing trades, okay, on smaller time frames. Maybe I buy and sell something within a week or a month. But what I'm really playing for here, I'm not, to quote a prominent YouTuber that I've listened to for a while, watched his TA, I'm not playing for the soup and the sandwich. I'm playing to buy the whole fucking restaurant chain. That's what I'm playing for. And the only way you can do that is to put emotions aside, to see the bigger picture, because the reality is most people will not be successful day traders. You're not going to be a successful trader. Okay, people sell you that notion so they can make money off of their content. The reality is most people will not succeed at that. I'm not telling you can't succeed. I'm the last person to say that. Believe me, you put your mind to something. I had a whole podcast about it. If you want to do something, you can make it happen. But you can't argue with numbers. Most people will not succeed at it. Honestly, most people will succeed by simply buying at logical levels, investing, buying at logical levels, scaling in, and then guess what you do? You sell at logical levels, because as nice as it is to look at my Ledger balance, Binance balance, and Coinbase Pro balance, because I have them between all three. I have money on exchanges and money on my Ledger. As nice as it is for me to look at that and go, holy fuck, that looks pretty nice. Guess what? That's a paper gain. That's not a realized gain. That's not actual dollar bills that I can go out and spend. As much as I hate fiat, it's not an actual gain, okay? You're not going to realize those gains until you sell it. And so the content that I'm providing for everyone here is genuine, honest, non-hype, logical, analytical, TA to help maximize your own probability of success. Everything that I tweet about, that I share with you, are things that I'm interested in. Things that I'm either buying, things that I've done a short swing trade on, or things I'm invested in. And this is another point I want to hit on. I will never, because I value privacy. I value anonymity. Anonymity. Try saying that 10 times fast. Anonymity. Okay, that's not going to happen. I value those things. So I'm never going to tell you what my largest holding is. I'm not going to tell you how much of something I own. I'm not going to give you a percentage breakdown of my portfolio. I don't owe that to anybody. That's for my own personal viewing. I don't even share that with my family. That's my own personal financial portfolio. I don't know anybody that goes around and shares that sort of information with anyone. Some people on Twitter feel, to each his own, some people feel this notion that they can go out and just share this information with people. You're not going to get that from me. I don't mind sharing with you if I own something or don't own something. But please, don't ask me to share you how much I own of something or what my percentage breakdown is of my portfolio. I'm not going to share it with you. So, getting back to the Bitcoin chart really, really quickly. Is the bottom in? I think that's a big question that a lot of people are asking. Is the bottom in? My belief is we saw capitulation very similar to March of last year. And I feel like the bottom is in. I do feel like the bottom is in. I do not think we're going lower than 30,000. Could we go lower than 30,000? Yeah, we could. And we'll reassess things at that point. I'm not telling you that we won't go lower than 30,000. I'm telling you that, again, using probabilities, using TA, using what I see in the chart, no, I don't think we're going lower than 30,000. I think we've hit our bottom. And we're going to, there's two scenarios I see. Okay, and I do this intentionally. Even technical analysis that I don't really am very fond of, I listen to a lot of content because I try to get a pulse of the market. I try to understand what the narrative is. I try to understand what prominent people in the space are saying. There are people I listen to and watch on YouTube that I respect. And at times, I also tune into some of the channels that I really don't care for, but I still want to hear what the narrative is. And I think that's smart. I think it's smart of me to do that because that is giving me a full 360 perspective of the market. That's my view. And what I would say, there's a lot of people who feel pretty sure about what's going to happen, that we're going to come up and test certain levels and dump, or we're going to battle certain key levels. Here's what I see. Here's my honest assessment. I see one of two scenarios playing out, and none of them involve breaking 30,000. I think that we are either going to go sideways for the remainder of the month and then eventually break out at some point in June or July to create a, new all-time high. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to happen in June, but at some point, June and July, we'll create a new all-time high. But basically, we're going to go sideways for a while. We're going to go sideways going into June. Okay, sideways into June, and then eventually break our all-time high. Or scenario number two that I see playing out is a true V-shaped bottom. Something to take the market by surprise. Okay? I haven't seen anybody out there talk about a V-shaped bottom. Basically, we come down, we shoot up, we face, if you watch my TA video, I talk about this descending line of resistance. Everybody thinks we're going to get rejected at this descending line of resistance. Again, the price point will change based on the time point at which we hit this descending line. But the chart I'm looking at, let's say we hit the descending line on June 1st. On June 1st, if the price gets up to about 54 to 55,000, call it 55,000, most people are going to expect a rejection and for us to revisit some sort of perhaps a higher low. What happens if we break right through that and we test 60,000? Because my own opinion is once we reach for 60,000, it's going to be like a hot knife through butter. I think once we get up to that 60,000 level, we're going to break through and shit's going to get crazy. So again, two scenarios. We chop around and go sideways, which is very healthy. Basically, the market's trying to get its bearings and trying to create floors, areas of floors, okay, before it moves higher. We're going to have a lot of sideways chop before we move higher. Or we're still going to have sideways chop. Don't get me wrong, either way. But it's going to be a shorter time frame of sideways chop, and we're just going to break right through. And when you zoom out and look at the chart, it's going to look like a true V-shaped bottom. That's what I see playing out personally. Something else that I don't want to forget to mention. What you'll notice, and I'm picking up on this, I'm very sensitive to this and very observant. When we're very euphoric and the prices are moving up, what you're going to notice is that there are a lot of people on Twitter, there's people on the news, they're going to call for unrealistic price projections. You're going to see this more and more. Trust me, when we reach our true euphoric top this year, you will see people on the news and people on Twitter saying 500,000 Bitcoin is really possible. Yeah, not happening. And similarly, but opposite, when we are very bearish, like the price action that we saw yesterday, you're going to see a lot of people come out and give unrealistic prices. Bitcoin's going to 10,000. Yeah, Bitcoin's going to 15,000, whatever. There will be people who will have unrealistic prices to the downside, okay? So just be mindful of this. What happens is you have to understand the prices of the cryptocurrency market and the ranges that they fall within are representatory to some degree of human emotion, okay? The more overinflated that we get, people will give unrealistic price expectations for tops and how high we can go. The more bearish and the more depressed and the more fearful people are, people feed into that emotion and they give you unrealistic prices that we're not going to reach to the downside. So please just keep that in mind. Something else that I wanted to hit on real quick, I wanted to give a quick shout out to all of the HbarBarians. You know, in particular, I would say within the past couple months here, I have felt no more love than from that community. So I just wanted to say thank you in general to everyone who's been so engaging on the charts that I've shared. I've put a lot of work into just sharing what I see in the charts to help everyone, as I always do. In particular, I've created a few unique views. The one most prominent view that I shared on my latest TA video was the HbarMatic chart. Again, if you haven't seen the TA video, please give it a view. That HbarMatic chart is something, again, I share the view with you. It's something I'm going to be looking at, and I'm going to assess how I want to play the market based on that view. I think it's a very unique view. The things that I speak about in that chart, I think, are going to play out. I feel very convicted on that. So I'll have to revisit and see if I was right or wrong. But either way, I just wanted to give a shout out to all the HbarBarians. From a TA perspective, I haven't seen a whole ton of people consistently posting a lot of TA on HBAR outside of myself. And then Credible Crypto, who I'd give a shout out to. Credible Crypto is someone, his TA. I have a lot of respect for his TA. Great guy, who I've been following for a while on Twitter. If you don't follow Credible Crypto, you should definitely give him a follow. Great guy. Very logical TA, no hype, unemotional, just tells you what he sees in the charts. So again, thank you HbarBarians for all of the engagement. Really appreciate it. Now for the chart of the week. The chart of the week is every single chart that you're looking at. You could look at any chart and it is the chart of the week. What do I mean by that? That's not a cop-out by me. What I mean is I actually want to impress upon you that the way I'm kind of looking at this situation, given that my big picture perspective is that we've nowhere near topped, this is a capitulation event, and that we're going to go massively higher from here, things have in a sense corrected. They have corrected, and they have provided you a golden opportunity to scale in at great opportunities that I did not think we would see again. So I would say, follow me on Twitter for updates on certain charts that I'm personally looking at. And I would say this is really just a great opportunity to get into anything. I'll give you a chart right off the top of my head that I can think of that I was looking at. Dash is back down to like $200 and some dollars. It was up to like $440, right? So it's like a 50% discount, somewhere around there. I mean, that's a great buy. HBAR, great buy. XRP, great buy. XLM, great buy. Mana, tremendous buy. One, great buy. So I could really go down the list, but really there is no chart of the week. Everything is a buy right now because everything has essentially reset through my eyes, and it's a great time to get in if your strategy is to play the longer term cycle play, which is what I preach. Something else I wanted to touch on that I think is very, very, very important for everyone to hear. Okay. Got a text message that sort of drove this conversation, and I need everyone to really listen to this segment, and if you need to rewind and listen to it again, because I personally think this is probably the most important thing you can take away from this podcast, and that is news narratives versus the technicals. Back in the day, I used to be an investor who would have a portfolio of stocks and would invest based on PE ratios, fundamentals. I would read the news. I'd go to Seeking Alpha, Bloomberg, and I would make investment decisions based on fundamentals, purely based on fundamentals. Purely 100% based on fundamentals. No technicals. What the fuck's a technical? What the fuck's a chart? So, long story short, I got burned. And it all had to do with, I forget if I told this story or not, but it all had to do with a bunch of tweets from Hillary Clinton blasting pharmaceuticals, and my pharmaceutical stocks went down for no reason. And there wasn't anything fundamentally wrong with these pharmaceutical companies that I own, but because Hillary Clinton decided to tweet something, my pharmaceuticals, some of them, they were down 20, 30% or whatever. And I basically said, fuck this. There's got to be something different. There's something I'm doing wrong, because there has to be some edge wow, that would pronounce that weird. There has to be some edge that I'm going to gain on the market here. And so that's sort of how I got into technical analysis. My whole line of thinking has evolved and changed over time. And I think, whether you're right or wrong on something, I've been in how I would define it, extremely successful based on how I have redefined my investment philosophy. You can't argue, I can't argue with myself because no one else knows, but I can't argue with myself my own personal financial successes based on how I retooled and refigured my approach to investing. And that is this. Literally this. Listen to the words I'm about to say. Show me a chart and I will tell you the story. That's it. That's literally it. China is, nope, don't want to hear it. But did you hear how the government's imposing taxes on, don't want to hear it. Show me a chart and I will tell you the story. Basically, someone had sent me a text message with all these concerns about China and competition with the United States, and I'm reading this, and I wish you could see me right now. One quick comment on that, by the way. Someone said it would be value added if I did these podcasts with video. I kind of like doing the podcast just audio, to be honest with you, just not having to worry about being in front of a camera. I don't like being in front of a camera to begin with. Ask any of my coworkers. So I'm not really crazy about being in front of the camera. At some point, this podcast is going to be on things like Spotify and Podbean and Google and Apple and all that stuff. So maybe I'll consider doing visual for some of them, but I like doing it audio only. So anyway, I wish you could see me because my head's down and I'm shaking my head. So it goes without saying that I have a tremendous amount of love and respect for the person who texted me this. It's not about that. I have a tremendous amount of respect and love for the person who texted me this. But the reason I'm shaking my head is because none of that shit matters. Let's talk about China for a second. I'm going to really try to illustrate this point for you. China banning Bitcoin has happened 5,000 million times in the past. If you actually go back to 2020, you'll see an article on it. Go back to 2019, China bans Bitcoin. Go back to 2018, China bans Bitcoin. 2017, as things were getting euphoric, China's going to ban Bitcoin, massive correction. Does that sound familiar? 2015, 2013, there's all these fucking articles about China banning Bitcoin. No one cares. Anybody who's been in this space, okay, for a few years, you should be knowledgeable enough, or I'm going to assume they're knowledgeable enough. Anybody who's been in this market for a few years is knowledgeable enough. No, all this stuff is bullshit, right? If you're just getting into the market, I can appreciate you reading this. You're like, oh my God, what's going on? China's banning Bitcoin. Maybe there's tax regulation coming on. Oh my God, the government's going to crack down on crypto. Oh God, no. And now there's a massive sell-off and we're all going to zero. Ah! What? I simplify my life. Look, there are black swan events. You can't plan for everything, all right? There are black swan events. But in general, the philosophy of show me a chart and I'll tell you the story, if I'm just using analytics and data, and there's reasons that certain patterns exist and are traded on and are viewed in the market because historically these patterns, okay, moving averages, indicators, historically over time they've told a narrative, they've told a story, and they continue to tell a narrative. Because over time, they gain more and more credibility. Well, a descending triangle shows up. Well, 90% of the time, this thing's going to break down to the downside. And hell, it broke down to the downside. There's a reason these things exist. Human emotions are built in to the chart. There's so much that is built into the chart. And the thing is, if you evolve your line of thinking, anytime you're trying to challenge yourself and you're trying to learn more and grow just as a human being, your line of thinking is going to change over time. What you'll also notice is it's funny because it's almost like some news stories the narratives that come out are so well timed with what the technicals are telling you. Let's go back to Elon Musk. All this fucking bullshit with Elon Musk that I could care less for. Okay? When he announced that when he announced that Tesla was purchasing Bitcoin, from a technical perspective, okay, he may have announced that Tesla was putting Bitcoin on their balance sheets. But from a technical analysis perspective, we were consolidating within a massive bull flag ready to break out. So it's interesting just the timing of the news narrative that played with that. If you're going to tell me that Elon Musk crashed Bitcoin, I don't know what to tell you other than, Bitcoin was showing a lot of weakness. It was consolidating for a while. There was negative divergence in the RSI. It was certainly showing a lot of weakness, which allowed a lot of the altcoins to run. A lot of the money was coming out of Bitcoin and going into the altcoins. The China narrative had nothing to do with the Bitcoin drop. There's also a lot of manipulation that takes place in cryptocurrencies and in the stock market. These are things that you would learn the more experienced that you come and the more educated that you get. But to think that a news narrative is going to drive the price action, to me, and again, I'm not calling anyone ridiculous. I'm calling that ridiculous. It's ridiculous to me. I simplify my life. I look at a chart, and I know this is difficult for most people to understand. It's just all analytics to me. Fundamentally, do I believe in a lot of projects, and do I think, let's use HBAR as an example. Look, I have a significant holding in HBAR. The fundamentals to me are insane. I mean, there's a ton of use cases for it. It's disruptive technology. In many ways, it's very superior to Bitcoin or Ethereum. There's no question about that. But so my investment in HBAR is both technical and fundamental based. But at the end of the day, the technicals are what's going to ultimately drive my buying and selling decision. I just can't stress it enough. I simplify my life by removing all of the news narratives, zooming out and looking at a chart. Okay? I look at the prior crypto cycles. I look at the current price action going on, and I make informed decisions based on that. I guarantee you, and then we'll get off this subject and we'll move on here. I guarantee you that when we enter a true bear market, because again, I want to stress we're not in a bear market right now. When Bitcoin tops out and all coins have this massive run, because we haven't seen the massive run yet, I guarantee you as we begin to correct and Bitcoin continues to make lower highs and lower lows, and we officially become in a bear market when we have that 50 SMA cross below the 200 SMA, the opposite of a golden cross, and we really are in a bear market, there's going to be well-timed news narratives. You will see news narratives come out. Okay, you will see how the government's coming down on crypto. Tax regulation is very bad for crypto. Bitcoin is extremely energy inefficient. There's going to be so much negative news, but it's not the negative news that's causing the price crash. It's because things got way too euphoric. All the price indicators are overinflated, and we were due for a major correction. And when you go back to the larger picture cycle that takes place and you correspond it to the halvenings with Bitcoin, you'll see that, yeah, we're just entering another cycle. We topped out. We got euphoric. Okay, we're going to have like an 80% correction in Bitcoin, or, historically it's been around 85%. Maybe we have something less this time because the market capitalization is larger. Maybe it's a 75% correction or whatever, 75, 78, 80% correction, whatever it is. But the chart tells me that. I don't need any news narratives. I don't need any news narratives. Look, if you're invested in this market, you're invested in game-changing, disruptive technology that if you play your cards right and you're patient and you buy at logical levels and sell at logical levels, you can literally make game-changing, life-changing wealth for yourself. And that's not me hyping anything. It's just the truth. So again, to anyone who's going to tell me that the news drives the story, I could point to countless times where there's well-timed news articles that come out, but the technicals all said there was either going to be a major move up or down in price. So I just simplify my life. I don't care about all the FUD articles that come out. Again, China's banning Bitcoin this year, okay? Come back next year and you'll see another. China's going to be fine with Bitcoin later this year. I guarantee you, China will be fine with Bitcoin. And next year we're going to revisit this topic and China will ban Bitcoin. This is all the same bullshit. So something else I wanted to hit on, kind of wanted to close out the podcast here. I see we're at 35 minutes. This actually just happened right before the podcast. I just want to say it's nice. I reached out to my cousin and asked for a favor. And, my cousin is someone who, based on the family dynamic and how we are technically related, he is my cousin. But he is someone who I've always thought of as a brother, as a second brother. I have one other brother, and I've always thought of him as another brother. That's just how close we've always been. But what I wanted to say real quick, I mean, this just happened right before I recorded this. I reached out to him and asked him for a favor. You know, my cousin and I, we used to hang out a lot. We used to hang out way, way back in the day. And there's been so much time that has elapsed between now and then. And the reason I bring this up is because I just think it's amazing how you can have certain people in your life who you love very much. You love them very, very much without question. And there's all sorts of gaps in time that can develop between you because of just life circumstances. We're all adults. We all grow up. We get married. We have kids, some of us. We have lives. But that dynamic, that love that you have for someone never changes. And I just appreciated that I randomly reached out to him. I asked him for a favor, and he got back to me in like 30 minutes and did something for me. And I just really appreciated it. So I just think it's really neat. I just think it's really neat that sometimes you have those people in your life who will always be there for you. Oh, I can think of countless times. Oh my God, I can think of one time in particular living down here in South Florida where I was going through a very, very rough time with something. And I don't know when the last time I literally was on the phone with my cousin, but it had been a long time. And I called him up, and he stayed on the phone with me for a very long time. For a very long time, he was on the phone with me. And, so just shout out to all the people in your life who have unconditional love for you and are always there for you. And now to end on a less sentimental note and on a funny note, one of the things that I wanted to share with you that also happened this week that I was very annoyed with, and I don't know if this happens to you, but I cannot stand, I have a refrigerator here that has one of those ice makers, and I know having an ice maker on your refrigerator is a pretty standard thing at this point. I fucking hate ice makers. I can't stand them because you stick your cup under and the ice like shoots out, hits you in the nuts, hits you in the leg, hits you in the arm, chest, nipple, wherever. Shit flies everywhere, especially crushed ice. You put that shit on crushed ice, you're asking for trouble, all right? You literally, you're asking for shit to spray everywhere. And I just don't do it anymore. I don't use the ice maker. I open up the freezer, I stick my hand in the ice thing, and just grab out whatever ice I need. Because I hate the fucking ice shooter mechanical thing. And sometimes when I grab the ice, some of the ice will slip out of my hand if I'm moving too fast. I'm not watching what I'm doing, and it falls on the floor. And I'll pick it up or whatever, but occasionally I'll miss one, right? And then it'll stay there all day, and it creates a puddle of water. And I don't know about you, but especially if you're wearing socks, I can't stand it. And it was horrible when I had a dog. I can't stand it when there's water on your floor, like, the hardwood floor out in the kitchen, and you step on it in your bare foot. It's even worse with your socks, and your socks get wet, or your foot gets, I can't stand that shit. So anyway, pet peeve of mine, can't stand when there's wet spots on the floor. Can't stand that, especially when you're wearing socks. And I would think at this point, at this day and age, we'd be able to create ice makers that would just gently allow the ice to flow into your cup and not shoot out. It just shoots out sporadically. Yeah. So I think that's the note we're going to end it on. So I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. This is a little bit longer of a podcast this evening. So I would like to thank everyone. I'm clicking here to get to my ending credits here because I always forget them, to be completely transparent. So real quick, again, thank you for tuning in. Again, give me a follow on Twitter, TradingView, and YouTube at CryptoBullGod. So, as we always do until the end of this bull market cycle top, because we have not topped, the cream of the crop shall rise to the top. And I should bring that up. This is the 10-year anniversary of the passing of, the Macho Man Randy Savage, Yeah, it's been 10 years since he passed away. So God bless his soul. He was so entertaining. I love the Macho Man Randy Savage. 10 years since he passed away from this date. So God bless the Macho Man Randy Savage. He's up in heaven giving elbow drops to perhaps the Ultimate Warrior. So, in closing, please join me in a moment of silence for all of those I attempted on multiple occasions to get into crypto and have remained ignorant. Thank you.